But of course, no one's interested in me.
I am.
No one's interested in anything I've got to say because you have stolen my public from me, Kinsey Schofield. She is the founder of todiefordaily.com. She's the co-host of the Majesty podcast. We didn't record one while we were here. We were going to do a live one together, weren't we?
Oh my gosh, I have failed our fan base.
You have failed.
I take personal responsibility.
Did we put out the last one?
No.
So it's out of date now.
We're gonna have to. No, I'm gonna drop both of them. It's gonna be a twofer.
Oh, I get it. So we'll do a this is before and this is after and we're really sorry kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a typical Tuesday when we start a podcast with an apology, but yes.
Well, we always apologise to Ngozi Fulani.
And that is a very important. I hope we never stop doing that.
We've been doing this. Because someone said to me yesterday, this is terrible, you've not done one for 6 weeks. Honestly, they were like, you've not done one for 6 weeks.
Well, remember when I tried to do one on King Charles and we were like, oh, we don't need to do that. We are so good when we do back-to-back, though. We should do back-to-back more.
No, we've got to start doing it weekly now. Yeah. Because we've been very busy and it's cost a very busy time. But we've got to start
costing us our fan base. We just, what are we going to do? We're never going to be able to merch this.
Yeah.
I'm really disappointed in us.
Merching it is important.
Hey, speaking of merching, did you see Dior's tweet about how they dressed Prince Harry for his father's coronation?
So to put all this in context, we're talking about the podcast we do called Majesty, T-E-A, and that's on Spotify, and we're recording some more of them. We've recorded one which we've not put down.
It's everywhere now.
It's everywhere. Apple, it's everywhere.
Yes.
It's like the Omicron variant. I mean, every time you think it's gone, it reappears. Thank you. Why are you looking so horrified at that? But also, talking of monetising things, yes, Dior dressed Prince Harry. And
it makes it feel like that was just Harry cashing a check. That really quick in, quick out. Did they pay for his American Airlines flight too? Was he really there to support his father, or did he have a contractual obligation to wear a Dior suit to a historic event?
Okay, well, firstly, before we go any further, anything that we say over the course of the next 55 or so minutes is not reflective of my opinion of Dior. And Dior, if you would like to send me literally anything or dress me for any occasion, I am available, I am cheap, and I am ready to be measured. Okay, now that I've given that caveat.
By the way, you look really good. I haven't seen you in a while, and you look really good.
Thank you.
I don't know if you're not watching at home, you can watch us live on YouTube and
Sky 522 and Virgin 606.
But you look amazing.
Do I? Why? Yeah. What's changed?
Your face has come in.
Oh.
And
well, I'm on a bit of a not eating thing.
Yeah. I mean.
Thank you.
We call that the Hollywood diet, but yes.
What I do is I have nothing for breakfast, nothing for lunch, and then when I pass out, I have something for dinner. And that's basically...
When I pass out, I roll over 3 times, and that's my cardio.
What is it they say? The devil wears Prada. Or when I feel like I'm about to pass out, I have a cube of cheese.
I love cheese.
I have a cube of cheese and a cigarette, and that does me for 3 more days. Now, have you got any copies of your book with you?
I've already got, they're gone. They're gone.
Oh, because Lee wants a signed copy.
We'll have to get him one. We'll have to get him.
And he says, can you send it to him from America?
Oh, yeah.
Would you mind doing that?
You can do a lot of things from America. We've actually caught up to you guys.
Well, I don't know whether you got the postal service or something like that. I don't know. Okay, Modern Monarchy, who love following us. Kinsey is in the house. Thank you. Thomas is tweeting again to say, will you say a big hello to the gorgeous Kinsey?
Oh, hello, Thomas. Is Thomas the one that's supposed to get me a green card?
Oh, probably.
Remember?
Well, you never offered to marry me for a green card.
I would absolutely do that.
Well, that would mean I'd get one for the States, though, as well, right?
Yeah, this is a mutual beneficial relationship.
Damn my husband. Damn him.
Yeah, let's get rid of him.
Damn him.
Let's watch some murder mysteries and we'll figure it out.
I'll take the insurance out first. Okay, Morning Cristo says Cherry Blossom. You don't usually read out my tweets. Well, I have now. Standout moment was Louis watching on with interest, knowing one day it will be him.
Oh, it's not going to be him unless there's a horrible issue.
But I get it. I love Louis.
He's the best.
But the thing is, okay, I'm going to say something controversial.
I cannot wait.
Are we setting up Louis to be another Harry? Because no, Harry was like, I'm going to be a little...
before you wreck yourself.
I'm sorry, but Harry was like, oh my God, he's so cheeky, and oh my God, he's so naughty, and oh my word, because he was the spare, and he could be, and we all thought it was wonderfully cute until we realised that actually he was terribly unhappy, and the reason he was playing up was because all of the attention was on the air. Is this what's happening with Louis, and are we making a rod for our own back? And does Louis need to be sat down, like Harry should have been, and told, behave?
Well, I think we've actually physically seen Catherine, the Princess of Wales, reprimand Louis. I know we've seen the way he responds, which is a little colorful, but we have seen them discipline him and try to put him in place. And every time Prince Harry was naughty, Diana threw her head back laughing. So I do think there's a difference there. Also, Prince William spends a significant amount of time at home with his children. I was talking to Paul Burrell yesterday, who said he didn't think that's Diana's former butler, and he grew up with Harry.
Know.
I know.
We know.
He grew up with Harry and William, but he said he felt like William really was still kind of reluctant to become the king because he wants to spend as much time helping to his family grow as possible. And you know, I don't think, even though Paul was saying Charles is a great dad, I'm sure he's a great dad, but I don't think Charles spent as much time with them growing up as William has spent with his children growing up. You know, remember, Harry exits his mother's womb. Charles is already on the polo field. William's sitting in hospital.
Yeah.
Charles is at the opera. And we don't see that with William. So I do think that Louis, he's got a free spirit and he's fun, but I don't think that he's going to be the bad boy. But I think that is a great observation. I just think that his parents are a little bit more hands-on. They're not sending their kids off to school. I don't think they will. And I think that they're a little bit more hands-on.
I hope so, because I love Louis, and I love that he's got personality. I just hope we don't end up with another Spare in years to come, that actually the personality was him being an attention seeker because they're feeling like they are the fifth wheel. You know, and we've got a lot of issues with Spares.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a lot
Andrew.
of issues with Spares. We've got more issues with Spares than a Ford dealership, because we've got, of course, you know, there's Andrew, there was Margaret. I mean, I love Princess Margaret,
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong. I thought that she was absolutely fabulous, but of course, you know, lots of personality, lots of naughty behaviour, lots of all of this, which
Lots of lovers.
It's charming for a bit, but then it sort of becomes a bit tragic and destructive towards either yourself or destructive towards the rest of the family. So that needs to be kept in check, is all I'm saying.
When you look at King George VI, you look at even Prince Charles as the Prince of Wales, the idea of, well, I didn't have a job, I didn't have an assignment, and that's why I went off the rails, it just really doesn't flush out. I mean, the Prince of Wales created a job for himself. He created a path. Some might think it's controversial, but, you know, if you look at examples like the Prince's Trust, I think that that's going to be his legacy. You know, ultimately, that is something that he's done that truly has elevated people underneath him and given people opportunities.
And it does, we say this in the podcast, actually, it really does become look, Charles has got his problems, King Charles, and had his issues in the past. I've not been a massive fan. In fact, I've thought King Charles was awful in the past, actually. And so I don't say this as a party political broadcast for King Charles, but you cannot knock the Prince's Trust. The Prince's Trust, and you can knock the way in which some of the money has been handed in carrier bags, but, you know, quite stupid to accept it in that way. But anyone who says that the royal family is really horribly racist and that Charles is perpetuating any of that racism, formerly as Charles, now the King Charles, I think doesn't understand that the Prince's Trust has helped underprivileged young people, many of whom come from ethnic minorities. Over 1 million have had their lives changed by the Prince's Trust in some way, shape or form. Some of them so dramatically. Some of them were on the road to gang violence. Some of them, it's a brilliant initiative. And I think it's to me, that is how you fend off the conversations about reparations and things like that. You say, you know what, and even if I know that he's going into this navel-gazing, let's investigate our connections to slavery.
And how do you say let's not, and not get torn to pieces?
Well, absolutely. But what I would do if I was him, to fend that off and say, I'm not doing reparations, but you know what? We're now going to do a new trust where we are going to help as many people as we can. I mean, perhaps it's an expansion of the Prince's Trust. Maybe it's the King's Trust. I don't know. But for me, it is that sort of charitable pursuit is the reparation. You say, look, I can use my role, I can use some of the money that I get from the duchy, I can use all of this to improve people's lives today. We're not going to take money from the state to do that. We're going to do it ourselves. We're going to raise it. And that is our response to where we have got our money from and our wealth from in the past, so that we are going to now use a charitable pursuit. That, to me, is how you deal with the reparation side of things.
I'm not going to argue with you. I think that's a very brilliant observation.
So why aren't I advising?
Right, so call me, so give me a call. But yeah, so I think that, you know, hopefully Louis will look at his grandfather and look at some of these, and not even Louis, but the idea of the spare, or anybody that doesn't have an official role. I think King Charles, as Prince Charles, knew that there was a long road ahead, and he had to carve out a path for himself. Otherwise, he was going to be miserable. And so the excuse of...
And he was still quite miserable, even with the path.
The excuse, well, not when he was action man, but the excuse of not having a role, Harry, potentially a Louis, I just don't think it has to be that way.
And also, there was so much potential with Harry, because he actually did have a role with Invictus. He did start to carve things out.
He was such a good ambassador for the family to the world. He was such a likable character. He was handsome, he was funny, he was charismatic, and I think he really, and he felt like an open book. I mean, he's very protective of his space now, but it was always so exciting to see him talking to a camera, because there was an innocence and openness about him.
But a candour as well that you don't get from a lack of God. You're right. And I felt that actually, prior to him meeting Meghan, and I get the infringement from the press, and I get how difficult it must have been to have a relationship, etc. But also you have to take with that the reason is because people want to read about him because they loved him. They absolutely loved him. They wanted to know who he was dating because they loved him.
Yes.
You know, I think that the alternative to that would be that you put Harry in a newspaper and no one buys it. And what would that say? But I think it's such a shame that at a point where he seemed to have it all, he gave it all up when he'd really carved out a role. Him being a champion, especially for veterans, I think could have absolutely been his niche, because he had actually served. He'd started the Invictus Games. He could have built on that. We've got real issues when it comes to veterans here in the UK, when it comes to homelessness, when it comes to mental health of veterans as well, the way in which that's not dealt with.
But where did Meghan fit in that? Because Meghan wants to shine.
Well, absolutely, and that was the shame, because had Harry taken a different path, I think that he could have built on Invictus to have encompassed many of those issues I just spoke about. And that could have been, you know, he could have been almost... That could have been
his legacy, not spare an Oprah Winfrey.
Yes. Yes.
Because it has shifted.
Because William, of course, who is the Commander-in-Chief, or will be one day, of the veterans, of anyone that's in the armed forces, you know, that's his focus. He could have said, well, you know what, you got William while you're in the armed forces. Afterwards, you got me.
Right.
And I'll look after all of you, and I will make it my legacy and my foundation to make sure that anyone who leaves the armed forces has a place to live, has mental health help, has, if you've been injured, you are helped by my charity. So really maybe partnered up with the British Legion more. There could have been so much he could have done, because the British Legion does a lot of that as well. There is so much he could have done. And he was starting to carve that out, and I could really have seen that as his path. And he decided to go down this role of instead, I'm going to release books and do all of that. And I don't think he could see what we could see.
Yeah, well, there is an element of insecurity still to this day, but I didn't see it when he entered the Abbey yesterday. He looked confident, happy.
He was probably drunk.
Well, he was probably just cashing that Dior money in his
hand. Yeah, that's true. It's true. It's like reaching into the pockets which were filled with dollars.